In May, UNICEF Vietnam and the Ministry of Health launched the campaign of Kindness is Contagious on mass media and social media to call on young people to give their support to the community by promoting empathy, tolerance, inclusion and sharing of innovative solutions to prevent the COVID-19 pandemic. The campaign emphasizes three key messages: help other people, be empathetic, and be optimistic. The Kindness is Contagious campaign was launched on social networks and mass media. The campaign encourages young people who want to use their youth strength to act, dispel anxiety, share their feelings and dreams with other young people across the country. The purpose of the campaign is to strengthen the voice of young people by encouraging them to share paintings, videos, creative and innovative solutions on UNICEF's digital platforms and social networks of the Ministry of Health. This campaign not only demonstrates what young people can do during COVID-19 pandemic, but also what they learned and will do differently when life returns to normal.
Lòng tốt dễ lây, hãy đồng cảm, chia sẻ, lan tỏa để chúng ta yêu nhau hơn.
Không kỳ thị những người bị ảnh hưởng bởi Covid.
Giữ khoảng cách nhưng vẫn kết nối.
Greetings from Sharing Vietnam on VTC10 Netviet. In today's program, we'll talk about a very meaningful campaign entitled Kindness is Contagious, organized by UNICEF in collaboration with the Ministry of Health of Vietnam. And the guest speaker in our program today is Ms. Rana Flowers, the UNICEF representative in Vietnam. Thank you for joining our interview today. The first question is, as far as we know, UNICEF has carried out many activities and campaigns to raise awareness about the COVID-19 pandemic. So can you share more with us about those activities?
Sure, and thanks so much for having me today. Look, UNICEF, the spelling of UNICEF indicates what we must focus on. The C stands for children, and the E stands for emergency. So as soon as word of an outbreak of virus reached us from China, we knew that the period ahead was going to be very intense and that we needed to mobilize very quickly. So even at the beginning, just before Tet, the staff here were aware that they needed to be in the office over the Tet, really starting to prepare the kinds of materials that we know we need to reach the population with in order to stop the spread of the virus. So immediately we were working on prevention messages, and that was the first step that was taken, particularly by our education colleagues at that time. Really important to recognize that children are such a positive and important force to defeat any kind of outbreak. The messages we get to children get to their families. So we wanted to ensure that we were reaching every child in Vietnam. I think the beauty also of targeting children is that the messages are simple and therefore and easily understood by everyone, and that helps us reach the general population as well. So from the outset with COVID, we really focused on our key strengths, which are to support the health response, to ensure we're working closely with the education, with all the schools, to have the right messaging, to get the teachers trained, and that at the beginning we were assuming that children would return to school. After Tet, of course, we know the schools didn't open for some months. We also worked with ministries like Melissa to develop child protection messages, and worked with other UN agencies like UN Women to develop safeguarding and safety for quarantine centres.
As far as we know, UNICEF also received the support from organizations and individuals when implementing this campaign. So can you share more with us about these supports?
Yeah, so coming out of COVID, we wanted to create a very positive, kinder, more respectful world. And joining us in that solidarity, in that spirit, were a number of very strong partners. I would really want to mention TikTok, the great reach that TikTok achieves, particularly with adolescent children who are able to post their ideas and share their thinking on TikTok, a magnificent platform for creativity as well. We also partnered with Nanam Publishing House. WHO was a key partner, UNESCO also joined. The Kindness is Contagious movement. We had a number of celebrities. So from singer men through to artists like Tammy Poo. We also had the actress Ninh Doan Lan Ngoc and one of the writers, which is Suboy, fashionista Chao Bue. So they came together, they also shared messages and they gave their ideas as to how they would like to share kindness and see us all come together. And that inspired then the young people to do more and to also post their ideas.
2 weeks after the launch, how many submissions have you received, and what is in your impressions on the submissions sent to you?
Look, I think this is an initiative that we did with the Ministry of Health here, and they also have tremendous reach. In the first week alone, we saw about, and this is through social media and the online platforms, we saw about 24 million adolescents and young people view and start to get involved in responding. We had about over 3 million engagements, so where people actually viewed the video and came back to us with messaging. We got lots of messages of encouragement from all walks of Vietnamese life. So if we thought we were reaching adolescents and young people, it reached adults, it reached the elderly, and we were getting very positive feedback from them. We also had mass media, tremendous mass media support. So more than 50 of the local mass media outlets were picking up the messaging and really encouraging this kindness, this ripple across Vietnam.
The COVID-19 epidemic has limited travel and social distance that can make people nervous and cause long-term mental health problems. But this is an opportunity to connect, unite the world, especially young people, and that is important now and in the future. With 70% of the population under 35 years old, Vietnam is considered a country with a young population. Young people represent an endless source of ideas and creativity, a force that drives trends for the country.
Bộ Y tế mong muốn qua chiến dịch này, thanh thiếu niên Việt Nam có thể có thêm cơ hội cống hiến, chia sẻ và phát huy sức mạnh, lòng nhiệt huyết đam mê của tuổi trẻ cùng cộng đồng chung tay đẩy lùi dịch bệnh COVID-19. Hãy đồng cảm, chia sẻ và lan tỏa yêu thương để lòng tốt được nhân rộng, lan tỏa trong cộng đồng. Là một nền tảng mang sứ mệnh kết nối cộng đồng, TikTok rất vinh dự trở thành một phần trong chiến dịch ý nghĩa này của UNICEF và Bộ Y tế. Ngay từ đầu mùa dịch, TikTok cũng đã chung tay cùng các cơ quan chính phủ lan tỏa các thông tin chính xác, những thông điệp ý nghĩa và tích cực về dịch COVID-19. Hy vọng với sự hợp tác lần này, TikTok một lần nữa có thể hỗ trợ UNICEF và Bộ Y tế lan tỏa những điều tử tế để mọi người có thể cùng nhau vượt qua mùa dịch này một cách an toàn với thái độ lạc quan nhất.
The campaign will run through June 2020 to raise awareness, build solidarity, help each other, and encourage kind actions among young people and the whole community. Any positive action, large or small, gives meaning to the community. Is that the message that you want to convey to the young generation here in Vietnam?
I think these emergencies either bring out the worst in people, and we've seen some of that happening in other countries. For me, in Vietnam, I think it's brought the best out in the people. That sense of community that Vietnam has had is wonderful. So certainly for us, we want that message to continue. We feel that vigilance is still needed. Hand washing has to be a lifelong practice, for example. But we are going to be preventing the spread of COVID-19 for at least the next year and a half. And so for all of us to remain vigilant, but to do it in a very positive, upbeat way is very, very important.
What is in your expectation for the spread of the campaign Kindness is Contagious in the future?
Yeah, look, I think now that the children are back at school across Vietnam, one of my own hopes would be that schools pick up this theme and look at how children within the school can undertake acts of kindness. I think it's also a nice area for competition between schools. I was talking last night with a young woman from one of the international schools here who wanted to make a difference and wanted advice on how to do that. And my challenge to her was, you have schools all over the world, let's do a competition in terms of how do we do better at these acts of kindness? How do we do better at making sure that we're paying forward? So in all of our lives we've benefited, whether it's from education, the love of our parents, whatever we have. There's something very beautiful about paying that forward, about bringing that to someone else. Not with an expectation of return, but with just because it's the right thing to do. So our hope is that the adolescents and young people continue this across Vietnam. We hope that we get many, many more submissions in terms of ideas and approaches and acts. What I'm most interested in seeing is not just ideas, but how they've put them into action. Because the more we all take personal accountability for making a difference, the more we can change the world.
So in the future, will UNICEF keep organizing similar activities to contribute to the sustainable development of Vietnam?
Oh, absolutely. I think we take very seriously our mandate to reach all children 0 to 18, to make sure that we are constantly, progressively promoting an improvement to their rights. And in Vietnam, we do that through all of the work that we do with the ministries to improve access to quality services, but we also do it through our communication. And I think the active engagement of children and young people is definitely here to stay. They are such powerful thinkers. We assume that they're naive, they're not. They're very creative and very clever in solutions. So going forward, we will most definitely use the National Month of Action for Children to focus on ending violence against children. So really promoting an absolute zero tolerance to violence in our schools, and also really trying to reach into homes where children are suffering from violence, where women are suffering from violence, to make sure that they know who they can contact to get help and the kinds of support that are available to them to end the violence that is so hidden in the Vietnamese community.
Once again, thank you for joining us and for your sharings today. And that's all we have for this episode of Sharing Vietnam Today. For comment and feedback, don't hesitate to write to us at sharingvietnam@netviettv.net. Thank you for watching and goodbye.